What is up, everybody? I'm back here. It's been a bit since I've uploaded, and that's mostly because I haven't been really watching stuff that I've really wanted to make like a video and talk about. I've been watching a lot of stuff, but there hasn't been something where I've been like, okay, I need to make a video about this. But there is one thing coming up that I will definitely be talking about. But today I wanted to come here and talk about Interstellar. And the exciting part about this is a rewatch. And this is a rewatch that's literally been 11 years in the making. I yeah, I saw this a couple days ago on in a theater. That was the main reason why I rewatched this a few days ago because yeah. So my thing with Interstellar, I guess maybe first, actually, yeah, I'll start with talking about Interstellar, my first viewing of this, and then talking about Christopher Nolan and then going into my rewatch. But I saw Interstellar when it came out in 2014, which looking further, this came out around November, late October, around there, and I saw it in theaters. And that was, 11 years ago, and I never rewatched it. Which I find very interesting because I watched it when I would say, not necessarily too young, but also definitely like young enough where I didn't really get anything out of it. I remember the ending and like that's kind of it. And this one's been really interesting because I hear there's a lot of like almost like revisionist viewing of this film because a lot of people consider this Christopher Nolan's best. I don't know if I fully agree with that. I think something like Oppenheimer from a couple years ago is definitely better, but it's still very interesting. I've wanted to rewatch this for, the 11 years that I haven't since I've seen it the first time in theaters. And my biggest thing keeping me from it is just I had this experience when I watched it and I remember enjoying it. And the idea of rewatching this is a little daunting only because what if I don't like it? Because as much as the average rating on Letterboxd is I guess I can look. I don't know. I don't use Letterboxd. Oh yeah, is very high at a 4.4. I have a lot of friends, a lot of people I know, and people I've talked to that just don't really like this movie. And I was curious at if I was going to even like this. Now, I I'm a huge I'm a huge fan of Christopher Nolan. I would say the first one I watched was probably probably like Dark Knight, I'm gonna assume years ago, and then I've kind of over time just watched a bunch of them. I watched Interstellar in theaters. I've seen everything but The Prestige and Insomnia and Following. I've seen everything else. I've been kind of just seeing a lot of stuff in theaters. I've seen Memento in theaters. I've seen Tenet in theaters. I saw that when it came out in theaters, which was kind of crazy to do. The only ones I didn't see. I'm surprised I didn't see Dunkirk in theaters, but yeah, I've always really enjoyed Nolan, and I think he's been a really interesting director. And I've kind of really I'm excited to see what he does now because we're at this interesting part in his career now, where Jonathan Nolan, his brother, is no longer involved in the writing. It's just Christopher Nolan. We got Oppenheimer last year or a couple years ago, which I absolutely love. I think I was a bit underappreciating it when I first saw it for the first time in theaters. Like Dave came out. It was a bit not necessarily lukewarm, but I genuinely didn't know what to think about it. And I spent like the better part of a week and a half just thinking about it and seeing it again in theaters like really confirmed to me that this was a really great film. But let's go back to Interstellar here. I It's been 11 years. I'm curious how it was going to hold up. My biggest thing also was I wanted to watch this quickly, relatively recently after watching something like a Space Odyssey, 2001: A Space Odyssey, because I've always heard the comparisons, and I knew that there was like, oh, here's like the trippy scene in Interstellar, here's the trippy scene in Space Odyssey, and going through this again after watching Space Odyssey again relatively recently. I actually saw it like I've seen it like twice this year. I mean they're both completely different films. And my biggest thing with Interstellar is I think this is a really engaging film. And I think there is this really great through line that I absolutely love. And I kind of love that this is a sci-fi, and I would say like a very complicated sci-fi, not necessarily complicated, but very science-based sci-fi movie that very much is dedicated to major plot that's relatively simple of a man on a journey to save the world, but also not necessarily save the world, but just save his daughter and save his family and the relationship and the hardship that comes with that. And I really appreciate this film kind of just doing that, just giving us a pretty simple story on the surface. And I do admit that I got quite emotional watching this movie. I thought the scene after going to the water planet and him talking to his or seeing the video with his daughter, that really got me and that very emotionally affected me. And I feel like this this movie has a really great emotional hook that I really like, and I don't know if it's just because I see a lot of my real life in a lot of stuff in this movie, but overall, it's super engaging, and I think it's an excellent plot that I feel like some people underappreciate. I feel like a lot of people are like, yeah, this story sucks and it's lame, but to be honest, I really think it works. Matthew McConaughey in the lead role, he's really good. I like just seeing Matthew McConaughey do things, and it's cool. He's really great in this. Um, I really like this kind of dual narrative thing going on where you got stuff with Matthew McConaughey and then you got the stuff on Earth. I really like that. And I love this progression of time and dealing with that. Um, what else to say? Topher Grace being in this movie was kind of a jump scare, not gonna lie. Earlier this week I watched you know, you can probably see it on here. Where the hell is it? I watched this movie, and so okay, this is not gonna let me backspace. All right, I guess I'm stuck here. Yeah, so I watched that movie. I watched fucking Flight Risk a few days ago. So seeing him in this was kind of a big jump scare, and I really just liked everything going on with this movie. I thought it was very intriguing. My biggest negative I want to take away, once again, I've spent took 11 years for me to rewatch it, but I would love to rewatch this again. Is I feel like the conflict between um Matt Damon's character being there kind of doesn't really work. I think the weird pseudo fist fight, specifically the part where it's them fighting each other, is feels very just kind of lame. And I was like, what are we doing here? Like it felt very sloppy considering this is the guy who directed Dark Knight. Like I feel like it could have been done way better. And there's also a conflict that I didn't really need in the film. I like the idea of this guy realizing, yeah, there's nothing, but he doesn't want to be left behind, sort of thing. I really like that, but I also kind of just felt like the overall fighting part just, didn't really work for me. But overall, I really liked that, like the simple journey of, okay, we're going through this wormhole, we're in this new galaxy, we're going to go to these planets, going to the water planet. That was an excellent sequence. I really liked that, and I really loved the tense nature of it and the um just the visual look of this movie. I think this movie holds up extremely well and looks incredible and is just gorgeous to look at. And I kind of love that this and like Space Odyssey, these are two films that came out very different time periods in terms of film, but both will like forever just look great because I feel like that comes to the success of Christopher Nolan as a director, because I feel like if it wasn't Christopher Nolan, this wouldn't look as good as it did because he has such a dedication to making things look as real as possible, and he really does that in this film. But yeah, Interstellar. I mean, it's well directed. I think for the most part, everyone just gives a pretty great performance. I feel like I really like Jessica Chastain's character. I really like her dealing with this and trying to figure things out. I kind of really like the whole ending sequence and the black hole. I really like that, and I remember being younger and not really understanding it, and I very much get it now, and I understand how it works, and it's pretty cool to see that happen and being like, oh, okay, here's how everything connects. Because I remember learning all that information years ago when it came out and being like shocked, like, what? He's the one doing that, this, all that, and yeah. But overall, pretty cool rewatch. I really enjoyed revisiting this. I kind of want to see more Nolan stuff in theaters. I really want to see something like a Dark Knight in theaters or something. I've been kind of itching to rewatch Dark Knight, but I'm kind of debating on if I do like a watch the whole trilogy sort of thing. But who knows? Christopher Nolan, Interstellar, really cool. I'm happy I really enjoyed it on a rewatch because I was really worried if I was gonna hate it. But I guess if I think about it, I haven't really seen a Nolan that I've really hated. Even Tenet, as messy and fucking confusing that movie is, I still have a lot to appreciate about that movie. But yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, another video coming very soon. It's gonna be like probably another week, but yeah, bye bye.